Welcome back to Banker Designs. I'm James, and today we're going to be looking at the most expensive tool I've ever bought, and it's going to be the ITECH table saw. Let's jump straight into it. Get started. Okay, before we kind of jump straight into this, I just want to lay it straight out there that I bought this with real money that I own, earned and paid for this table saw. I did get in contact with Scott and Sargent, who are the agents, dealers, whatever, for the ITECH table saw, and I was a bit cheeky and I asked for some discount, and they gave me some discount, which is super nice of them. I ordered this and I kind of got a summer special type deal thing, so I'll leave a link to that in the description. And if I don't like something, I'll tell you if it's good, I'll tell you if it's bad, and I'll tell you what I think to it. Alongside this, how many panel saws have I owned? Am I a carpenter? The answer is I've owned one site saw and I'm not a carpenter. So whatever I kind of say, I'll do my best in my judgment. I haven't kind of bought the typical, Bosch or DeWalt saw and used that for a few years. I haven't. I've got a workshop. I don't do site work anymore, so I didn't want to dick around with a portable saw. I wanted a proper job, so I bought what I would kind of class as a proper panel saw. So the video is kind of going to entail of me unboxing it, seeing how we go. I'll give you my initial thoughts. I'm not going to say probably yay or nay until I do a 6-month, 3-month, whatever review back and how I find it. So let's just stop talking and start unboxing. Okay, so this is how it kind of came. The delivery driver was a little bit of an interesting, it was an interesting 20 minutes, but just a little bit about it. It's a 10-inch table saw, cast iron. It's called ITECH, but I think that we all kind of know that it's very, very similar, if not the close to or exactly the same as the SIP's machine. And someone said it's very similar to the Axminster machine. So yeah, probably made in the same little shed somewhere across seas. The reason why I went for this is as much as I try and make decent YouTube videos, I actually watch people who make good YouTube videos. So I watched the Keith at Rag and Bone Brown, and he's just bought the Axminster table saw, which looked very, very nice. And he did a big comparison and a chart and all that type of thing. And it looked pretty good. So I thought, I'm going to get one of those. The problem is that we're kind of at the time, we were just out of the lockdown and still things were going, people are working from home, making things out of pallets and all type of stuff. So it's very difficult to actually buy woodworking equipment. And I am very much of the ethos to, out with the new and in with the old. That's kind of my ethos that I kind of stick to. The problem with that is I tried for about a month and a half to try and find a Wadkin 10G WGS, I think it's called. I look for start rights, and unfortunately I'm just not lucky enough to actually try and find these, because everybody wants them. So everybody's getting into woodworking and whatever, so it's very hard to actually try and find used equipment at the minute. Ooh. Okay. Okay, well, just to kind of keep you guys aware, I was offered a few options with this. So you can have a wheel kit, which clues in the name, puts wheels on it. And I got the extended table as well. So we splashed out, and they're all cast iron. So far, no instructions. Okay, bit of tube. Ah, there we go. Okay, well this is literally just out of the box here, so I'm not sure. I've got my what not to follow guide here. Right out of the box, everything's really chunky actually. Got a capacitor start induction motor here that's cast. That's quite, I like that. Some pulley drive motor here, which is good. I like that. The ratios look about 1:1.
1 eternity later.
Okay, I'm now wearing a hat because it helps me think. Okay, this is going to take a little while. Right off the bat, the instructions aren't great. I've got an exploded diagram here, which is an exploded diagram, which it kind of looks like it's not for that machine. Oh, it is. Right, okay, so it comes in 2 sections, clearly. This is you have to rotate this around, and then you've already got, there we go, your cast iron bed onto here. And you then have these side panels which are enclosed into here, and the ones that we took out earlier is the body of it. So I don't know what's going to be the best thing to kind of start off with, is to maybe rotate this up and then bolt these sections on here. There's not really a, start by here from what I can tell. I could be wrong here, folks. Keep away. There's many things of you not to lick the blade whilst operating, and place insert. It's just all the things that you shouldn't do, but it's not the things to actually get to the part where you need to, should do, put it in. You know what I mean? Tips and tricks. Before cutting a workpiece size, make trial cuts with piece of scrap. Always place workpiece on table saw in such a way that it cannot tilt or rock. Motor is slow or weak. Volume from source is low. Motor overheats. Is the atmosphere hot? Mitre gauge does not move freely. Mitre gauge assembly is dirty, is dirty, is dirty, is dirty, is dirty. Rip fence does not move. Rip fence is mounted incorrectly. Troubleshooting guide. Table saw does not start. Motor cord is not plugged in. I'll keep this because this, without this, I wouldn't know how to fix it. Oh, it's got an NBR switch. That's quite nice. Okay, we're going to have to just go off the schematic, the exploded diagram, to figure this shit out. Okay, what I'm going to do is what I think that if you do get one of these, is probably do, you should do, is take everything out that clearly isn't a part of the table saw. Get rid of them. And I'm going to spread everything around. I'm lucky I have quite a big workshop here. So these are quite clearly feet. I'm going to put them in the foot area. This is the bolts. It comes with the Allen keys. Good. All this goodness. There, hand wheels, plastic, but never mind. Okay, don't know what that is. Put it over there. Okay, the tall box is the rip fence. Now my one, it's bust through the packaging because whoever wrapped it and put it on a pallet edge banded it really tight. So much so it's just kind of crushed inward, but hoping it's going to be okay. Wow, that is really big. Okay, I would say we don't need this until the end. But it's just to point out that this was a bit broken. But everything looks really, really chunky. Aluminium extrusions. And it's packaged reasonably well. Okay, well, when you get it, there's a lot of these kind of panels that you can kind of figure out. I'm not going to go nuts in recording this. I'm going to knob these on here, get all this started, and then we'll come back into more the interesting stuff. But it's pretty simple. What I'm finding is that I'm using a picture on their website to kind of guess where things go. So this goes on the front, and then everything else kind of fits into its own place. You've got another one that's the same as this, that is the extractor, which goes out of the back of the machine. Fairly simple. Okay, straight off the bat here, none of these are kind of lock nuts, which I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing at this stage, but you're definitely going to need one of these magnets, because you don't want your nuts in your table saw. There we go. I've got a washer. One thing I will note as well is that the machining of this, this was clean when I got it, but what we've got here is a lot of swarf there. I'll just bring you around and show you a bit closer. Okay, just inside here, I mean, it's not a niggly bit. I mean, at the end of the day, it is a budget saw. But what I'm going to make sure that it's done is just clean up absolutely everything, because as soon as gravity is going to be taking its course here, as soon as you switch this on and turn this over, you're going to find this stuff is not good for table saws. Fuzzy. It looks whatever tooling they were using was pretty blunt, because there's a few purple little chips in there. Okay, so it's been a while. One thing I will say is this is definitely not kind of a 2-hour job, is this. There's a lot to kind of figure out. It's not the fault of Scott and Sargent or ITECH, whatever. It's just the instructions are pretty poor. I'm not that familiar with the mechanics of a table saw. It's little things, so I'm on the website at the minute trying to work out which way this manifold goes. Does it go inward, outward? I've identified that this obviously goes on the inside, and this is connecting to the actual dust extraction system off the offset of the blade, and then this is, I'm guessing, going to go onto the back, and then this goes onto this, and this goes onto this, which is your blade guard at the top. It's little things like that that do take a little bit of time. Handy things for me learning so far is getting yourself a tub. Again, you will definitely need one of these, which is a little telescopic magnet on a stick thing. Super handy because I'm just dropping everything in here. One thing, as I'm gradually building this and putting this together, it's getting heavy, and I need to flip this round, and I have only got me to do that, so I'm sussing out how to kind of get along. But so far so good. I will eat my own words and say, let me just bring you up a little bit closer. With regards to installing everything and getting everything set up, it is pretty straightforward. You can't put these on wrong. So although the instructions aren't great, it is built to, you know, for thick people to join it together, like me. So all the holes have to line up. Obviously it's a rectangle, not a square. So the panels on either side do have a position and a location to where they actually want to go. Yeah, there's a bit of swarf in the bottom, but it's not a problem as long as you kind of clear everything up. The panels themselves, I'll be honest, the paint's a bit thin. The bolts that come with it, I'm very, very tempted to replace these with nylock locking nuts, because these are the only things that's kind of actually, hopefully we can focus here, you know, the just bolts that bolt it together, which is fine, don't get me wrong, but my preference would be locking nuts. And these, if you're in a bit of a damp environment, these are going to go rusty, and yeah, would have been nice if they were stainless, but again, it is a budget saw, effectively. Tools, you'll definitely need these clamps because these things just fold over. My top tip would be work from the top, so you can't actually see this. Let me reposition you. So work from the top, so bolt these ones in at the top here. They're just a standard metric 13mm. And if you are building one of these together, my tip would be go to Poundland and get these really cheap spanners. I buy these whenever I go, and I can modify these to how I want them. Having a ratchet spanner that's a flexible head, this is just a Halford's one, is super duper handy. So this is really handy for just adjusting things. If you've got, you know, pretty fat hands like me, and you know, you've got pig dick fingers, then having one of these modified and to actually get into these places is super handy. So it's just a thing to bear in mind. One thing I did notice as well, which is something I didn't even see on the photos or read in the description, is that later on down the line, as obviously things break, that's just the way of machine tools. But what's super duper nice is on either side you've got these inspection panels, which is quite nice. These are just threaded into these sections here, but it allows you to get to either side of the motor. So if you need to replace the capacitor on the top of the motor, you can come in here, and it's a pretty easy job without having to tip this on its head, which is quite good. Yeah, just something I thought I'd bring up with you guys. Again, is when you're at this stage, I would suggest, I don't know if this is, I'm going to read the manual, but everything's really dry. Like this, there is nothing on here at all. In fact, it's still covered in its, you know, it's a little bit dirty. I'm going to go around and oil everything just very, very lightly. I don't need to go nuts because things will stick to oil. But things like this is a, you know, an easy way to form backlash. Belts, the adjustment on there is fine to me. You don't get a plug with this, so you have to put your own plug on, and this will take a 16 amp supply. So if you've got just your standard 3-pin plug, you're going to need to upgrade this. And if you're looking at the better dust extraction, you're going to need 16 amps. So if you want to get into the big boy game with this type of stuff, you need to make sure that you've got your power requirements correct, and your workshop can take it. Just one thing, important thing to point out there. Okay, so the next blunder that we've kind of had here is the wheel kit. So if you do get this, and I'm going to give you some close-ups of the wheel kit in just a moment, just to kind of show you something. But the instructions, again, pretty bad, and I'm just looking at the photo. The majority of me assembling this very machine has been done on studying these photos, which is a little bit of a shame, but sirrah. But from what I can tell is that whoever took the photos, or whoever installed the machine that the photos were taken of, was installed incorrectly, because these wheels that are on the side have to go with the ones that have got the holes in. So you've got two types. So if you've got this, or the SIP one, is you've got one that goes vertically, and then you've got one that goes horizontally. Now this goes to your wheel kit on the sides, right? That makes sense. And then this actually goes up there, and that goes, you know, this goes flush with it. If you put the wheels with the ones on the side, what they're for are the wheels that then will bolt the lift up, and these will actually attach to the side points here for this to then get braced onto, which I believe correspond to these wheels. maybe? It's quite confusing. Okay, excuse the janky cameraing, I'm using this free hand, so just kind of wanted to give you guys a bit of a closer up at some more of the parts inside. You'll notice as well, or I tried to be quite clear on the video, that any kind of part that needed to be, in my opinion, the screws or fasteners updated, such as this and the dust pot here, this is going to constantly being, you know, moved, vibrated, and it was connected on with these here, which are just your, you know, node locking. So I thought I would upgrade these as best as I can. Again, there is no way of knowing how this is installed because there's nothing in the instructions. So I could be wrong, I don't know, but I've put the port going up because the back of the hose is going to go under there and then come round. I was thinking gravity. Again, there's this little part that came in the wheel kit, and I never in a million years would work out where this would go. There's a bolt hole here. I'm not sure if this is for the table extensions or what, but there is a small bracket, and this is the only place I can find, and I've been looking around this, where this could go. So I don't know whether it goes that way or that way, but it genuinely, that's how it kind of fits in. I've no idea. It's getting complicated, but it's not hard. You've just got to kind of power through it. I'm enjoying it. It's a bit of fun. Again, I'm going to ask the guys at Scott and Sargent if they've got some touch-up paint. I haven't done these, I promise you, but there was quite a few scratches on this as well. You know, scratch all the way down here. You know, it's a working tool, I get that, and some places the paint is looking really thin actually. You know, like on the corners and things like that. If you've ever done any painting, then it's so easy. You know, down here there's no paint. Oh no, wait, that's just some sort of dust. Okay. Now I haven't seen the condition of the top yet, so I don't know what this is like, but we'll plough on. I just wanted to point that out to you. As well, I haven't removed these, I'll put these on. But whoever, you know, the little Chinaman who's putting this together has used some sort of drill or, you know, impact driver, and he's rounded over the screws. He's not rounded over them, but I mean, you can see just there where he's, you know, he's put all his onions into it, and he's gone a bit much. Don't know what these 4 holes are for yet. But I'm sure we'll be able to figure that one out at some point. But there's space for something to go on the inside of here, but I can't see anything yet within the boxes. If I do know, I'll put it up on the screen now. Right, I've enlisted the help of the missus, and we're going to lob it over that way because I think that's going to be the best way of doing it.
So when we're flipping it, where are we flipping?
Literally, I'm just going to rest it onto here. Okay. I want you to tip it onto me, so if it does fall, then I will sacrifice myself for the life of the table
heavy?
saw. It's not, it's all bottom heavy. So this bit's light. So if you can stand here, please love. I got this.
He says.
Hernia. Fucking hell! Jesus! Okay, well I'm gonna change my underpants. Fuck me, that was heavy. Right, I've been a bit of a twat here because the wheel kit that you get put onto here, and I'm thinking, you know, you put it on and you think, fucking hell. I know Chinamen are short, but they're not that short. So what I've done is this bracket here. First mistake is I've put this on the wrong way around. So you want these going at the bottom, so this is like right at the base, which is a bit of a pain. But yeah, if you do that, then I'm going to have to knock this back again and redo it. So I'm going for some lunch. Okay, so we've got everything bolted on, the wheels are now correctly installed. I've put both handles on and I've checked that the wiring does in fact work. What I'm doing is just put a bit of cardboard on the top here so we're not going to damage the top face of the machine bed. I've now got to put on the side tables because this one comes with the extension kit, and to do that it is definitely a two-man job. So I've got the better half to assist and probably hold whilst I bolt this on. So this is going to take, it's definitely a two-man job to do this. I did consider clamping some slats across and then clamping the beds on and doing it that way, but it's just, I don't want to drop it and smash it. So a little bit more time. So it's been a little while, not for you guys of course, but it's the next weekend for me and I haven't had a chance during the week to actually continue with this. Off camera, I just set up a time lapse of me and the good lady is setting up both of the top tables. There's just 4 bolts underneath. You need some person to hold the extension tables, kind of nip those up at the either end using a straight edge, level, whatever, to then try and get these as true as possible. I've just put this cardboard on here just to try and protect it. The next job that we've got is I need to put on the fence. So there's a few ways of doing this from what I've kind of done a bit of research on. Again, nothing really in the manual apart from exploded diagram. So you've got these bolts here and these are just going to bolt onto the front just like so, and you want to put these on loosely, and then we're going to slide on the fence here, and then we're going to bolt everything around it. Then we can true everything up and zero this on. It does help if you've got quite a big square and a straight edge. Definitely recommended. So let's just do some time lapsing and try not to be yeah, too dull. Okay, so I've got everything very loosely fitting, so the fence is not properly secured yet. I've just got everything kind of meshed in as best as I can, and I'm just going to go and fit the indicator line now. And this set of the instructions aren't as bad, but there's literally nothing to start off with. But now that we've got to the table extensions, it kind of gives you a rough indication of how to level it, put a block of wood, straight edge, whatever, to then try and make sure that there's no gaps. I've still got to adjust mine ever so slowly, slightly. And the rip fence that is indicated on here is a slightly different one, which is a bit confusing. This shows that there's a lever section underneath, there's not, and the back rear angle's a bit different, but much to a muchness. So I am going to roughly put this into place here, and all it is just a piece of plastic, which is fine, but my fence here is a bit battered, so I'm hoping this shouldn't be too much of an issue. Hoping that you can see that okay. So all I've done is I've raised the blade up, and that's going to kind of give me just a rough indication of where the fence should be. Workbench. Okay, so I thought I'd just share a few minutes of actually me leveling the table bed. So there's one way that I think is correct is I would start one end tight. So I would loosen off 1, 2 and the third bolt and keeping that one tight. What you then want to get is a straight edge, preferably a starret, just a joke, but I like starret tools, and having this level, shining a light from the other side to then see if you can see any daylight on the other side, and then you would know. When you've got this side straight, is tighten this end up, and then you're going to move down the line, and then when this side is then loosened, you put it on this side, get that level, then check the middle, then check the end, and you'll probably have to do this around 2 times to get it kind of as dialed in as you possibly can. But a straight edge, just a 12-inch straight edge for this size of table is going to be kind of more than enough. And then if you have got something a little bit longer, what I would do is then put this in the middle of the other section of the bed. But field is a good indication as well, so you don't want to be having any kind of movement here. Just getting your nail and rubbing that across the surface. You're not going to find anything that's, you know, a bit of a step up. What I will say is it might look straight and you might get daylight either like slightly in the middle here, slightly in the middle out here, but these are level. The important thing is that this section is level with this area here. If this drops off slightly, it's not the end of the world. I'm sure I watched a video of someone like tightening these up really tight to then try and keep this straight. Don't rely on aluminium extrusions that are straight, because although they are very accurate, they're not. Use a straight edge and a light. If there ain't no light, it's pretty straight. It's a pretty good rule of thumb. Nice. Okay, now that we've got both beds in a reasonable level, again this is still loose, what I'm going to be doing is I have just, these are a really cheap set of, these are my wood set, they're not my engineering set, but I think these are around 30 quid from Amazon, something like that. And these are great just for wood stuff. Sometimes the smaller and the longer levels are the most handy because you can use them for, you know, this type of thing and truing up the blades. Okay, next off is, sorry about the focus on this. This is where I kind of struggle with the whole YouTube thing. But what you want to be doing is raise your blade as high as you can. Now the blade that comes with it seems pretty good, so I'm going to roughly truss this. But I've got this fence kind of loosey-goosey on the side of here, and I just want to be making sure that we're using the square in between each tooth blade, and you want to line this up with the center of each gullet, rotate this round, and make sure that you are kind of reasonably there. Okay, so I'm just going to run through this, and it might divide opinion here. However, I've set up my rip fence with the line indicator on the back here, and my line indicator is at the very far left. Now, what I could do, and what I've seen many people do, is you can move these rails as far as possible to one side, thus giving you your ripping capability a lot longer. Now, if I had more room, if I was in an aircraft hangar or a bit more of a wider, longer shop, then that is something that I could do. However, I've done it this way because I've got my dust extraction here, my port is at the back, so if I had these really long rails, I run the risk of it interfering with the dust extractor. I don't really want to do that. Granted, I'm going to be working and walking in and out of the walkway that's in the on the left of this table saw. You're right, I think. But I've done it this way for now. It's really easily adjustable. You can just move everything across and move that up and down. But I've done it this way because it works for me. It's not necessarily the right way or the most optimal for your table saw. So I know what you're thinking, I know. Okay, so when you're adjusting everything onto here, again, I'll just point out, so that's my 0, and I can clamp this right the way down, and this fence is now super duper solid, which is great. When you get this, it's very loose, and you just want to, there's a bolt on the other side of this, it's 13mm nut that you just tighten up, and then you'll get this kind of nice double action tightening. I actually do really like the fence after I've installed it. I'm going to see how we get on in future, but this, although this looks a bit crappy, it gives you options. So you can move this, you can replace this nice and easily, and I do actually quite like this for now. So I'm probably going to keep it, see how I get on. I've still got a few more bits that I need to do and tightening up on here, and I'll get onto that now. Okay, so next off we are going to be installing the fine adjustment wheel. This is the pinion and this is the rack that you're going to have down here. This is quite a nice and sturdy looking part. Again, what your saw will come with is these just Phillips heads screws that we've got. I'm going to be upgrading mine because they've gone a little bit rusty. Not Scott and Sargent's fault, it's just the reality of budget machine tools. Dead simple straight over. These are just M5 by 20s, and it comes with a little square nut that comes onto the top, and we're just going to slide this in here and making sure that the pinion is meshing correctly with your rack. Okay, so I'm just on the workbench here, and yeah, all I'm doing is I've got some aluminium foil tape, and I'm just going to trim this down to how and roughly abouts that we want it. Again, you're not going to be able to see this, so I ain't too fussed, but all you want to do is, I'm just shimming this up ever so slightly, so I don't know if this is gauged or how it kind of works here, but I'm just going to be getting 1, 2, maybe another one there, and I'm just going to be putting on 2 layers here. Sorry, 3. I've done 3 on one side, so I'm going to do 3 on the other. And I'm going to see how that kind of works. Now, I know there's quite a few of you that would just say, well, you should put a washer between those, but it's only been stopped really, really slightly, and I think I've just got it. So I actually put 4 shims on this, just to, yeah. It's a little tight. Now it locks in, releases. Yeah, so if you do get that problem, I think just putting in some, you could just use tin foil folded over a few times, but I don't want this to go anywhere. So just a little bit of aluminium foil tape if you do have that problem. But now that engages in. Okay, now that we've got the fine adjustment wheel in here, that's feeling really, really nice. Again, just shimming it up slightly. You know, they might vary, but that, you know, did kind of help. I'm just going to feel what everything kind of feels like here. And it's very even across the table. So off camera, I'll lower the blade down and then just move everything across. What's a good indication as well is just, you know, setting to 0, clamping this down, and then moving across here, and both sides of where I've just clamped feel, you know, really quite nice actually. So I'm pretty comfortable with that. I'm pretty happy. It's quite nice that this isn't super duper fixed, but you can adjust this. So if I was, say, using different blades and it's not going to be in the same, you know, exactly the same place either time, this is just quite easy just to square up to here, adjust the fine line, and then adjust it to the 0 position. But I've got to say, I do like that. And there's no, or very little, that's if I move it up, but there's no moving forward, and this is just released as well. This did take me a few times just to kind of get that nice feel. You know, I'm not swinging down on this. This is just quite a nice, you know, how do you explain that? it's a nice amount of force. It doesn't feel like you're going to snap anything or move anything across. But again, like anything, keep it maintained, keep all these guideways here clean, and you shouldn't be having any problems. Okay, so I'm going to do the usual, cutting and all that kind of jazz. I will be doing that. When you get everything, it would be a good idea to just degrease everything. So I get a lot of questions about these in particular bottles, and these are tattoo bottles, and 90% of all the things that I degrease and clean with is just paraffin. So it's not too aggressive. It's not going to burn, O-rings and rubber seals. It's accessible, and it just kind of works well for me. So I use this on my lathe. It's not, overly aggressive, and it's not too bad for your hands, which is quite good. So these are brand new cloths, and I get questions about cloths as well. I just buy everything from a body shop place. I used to do quite a bit of body work at one point in my life. And they're really handy for buying supplies. It seems to be a lot cheaper than going to, I don't know, Axminster or, somewhere like that. It's amazing how many industry things kind of overlap and cross over. So yeah, it's always worth noting. But I'm going to get all this grease off here, and then I'll be machining waxing this off camera. Let's go on to the next topic. Okay, next off is the clearance plate that you've got onto here. Now, on the forums and other things, I've had a lot of comments that I've seen have been mooning about this, and it does sit under. And to be honest, I'd rather be sat under than over. So there's a few tricks and methods that you can do with this. Again, you could put some aluminium foil tape in here. The easiest one is to get a glue gun, just put some dobs here, level this in, and then let it set, and then it's going to stick to the underside and not this. Again, I've just upgraded mine to put these screws in here. Now, this is a really old Makita screwdriver, and it gives you no torque at all. And that's as easy a thing as anything. Again, the table saw isn't plugged in. Now, I've been told that this can be a bit awkward, and you get into the two little bolts here that correspond with this section here, and all you're going to want to do, Okay, so we're kind of at the very end of the journey, and if you haven't watched the whole way through, then shame on you, but I don't blame you. It's been long, gents, it's been long. Anyone that has, I do really appreciate it. If you ever fancy just leaving it on and go making a cup of tea and then see what I'm rambling on about when I come back, please do so. So let's actually cut. So what we're going to do is we'll do a first off, we'll scrap that, we'll move that then across, see how straight that is, and we'll measure it and see how we go. What I will say is this is extremely quiet. Now, I haven't got the dust extraction set up. That's going to be in the next video, so make sure you do hit that subscribe and wait for the next one. It's currently in a big box here. As usual, I do have to say, put glasses on and ear protection and probably a dust mask, but I'm doing one cut. I'm using a push stick. It's not the one that came with it because that's over here. And little handy tip is put a magnet in the end. And then when you're done with it, you can just stick it onto here, which is great. So we're going to do roughly a 50mm cut. We'll see what the accuracy is like. And I'll put up on the screen how loud it is for you guys. Okay, now this is a little bit of a pointless test because it's no indication of the actual accuracy of the saw, it's the level of indication of the accuracy of the person who's just bolted it on. So, I'm not going to stop the video because then you'd know I'm cheating, but I did just sneaky peek. So we'll start at one end. These have been zeroed, they were calibrated, it's expired. We have got 50.4. You see that? 50.37, 50.45. So it's a little bit of a tape on the first cut, but remember that was the first cut after the first initial trim cut. And it is wood. 50.4, 50.3 there, 3.2. 50.34. Okay, I can work with that. So over a length of just over 600mm, we're within plus or minus 0.2 of a millimetre for the accuracy. And bearing in mind that this is me just setting up this table here, and I haven't used a big scary saw before, so I would say that is pretty reasonable. I'm going to play around with it, I'm going to let everything rest for a few months, and then I'll kind of come back and look at this, see how it is, and I'll be constantly adjusting things to try and suit this in. And I definitely need the dust extraction because I've got dust everywhere now on my beautiful clean saw. Let's summarise. So to summarise, the ITECH 10-inch table saw. I think to start off with any kind of investment for this, especially if you're in a home workshop, you're on a budget, and you know this is, I am being honest with you guys, the most expensive tool I've ever bought. And it's not for me to make money, this is the things to make for myself. So you've got to kind of ask yourself is, you know, what do I want out of something? What's it going to give me? And is it worth that investment? And for me, this definitely was. And it's a big step up for me, you know, with the next journey of wanting to improve my woodworking. And, you know, the majority of things that I'm going to be building is more than likely the odd hardwood tabletop for something, mostly 18mm plywood. And, you know, that type of thing, you know, I want to make cabinets in here, I want to make some more accurate things. And I haven't bought a rail saw, and you get loads of people who will say, oh, well, you know, you need a rail saw, you don't want a table saw. I disagree. Something that's safe, it's usable and flexible is a table saw. But more importantly, I think what the ITECH gives me is giving me a really good saw for, let's face it, it's not a lot of money in the grand scheme of things for a table saw. Yes, it is, you know, made overseas, but, you know, it's a metric table saw that I've set up in my workshop on my own. Yes, the instruction manual, not great, but it's not hard to set up, you know, it's a bit fiddly and you've got to figure things out yourself, but I'm hoping that this video, if you do look at the ITECH or the SIP one, it's probably going to help you. What would I kind of change or improve about it? I wouldn't really change anything at the minute. I was a bit naive about the fence and the whole construction of it, but I was wrong. And the reason why I was wrong is because it works absolutely fine. You know, there's nothing wrong with it at all. Yeah, the fine adjustment might be a little bit gimmicky, but I do quite like it. And after using it, you know, at the end of the day, these are probably copied off a much more expensive machine and made a little bit cheaper, which is fine. What would I probably change out of everything? It's probably the handles that, you know, you tilt your blade and lift the blade up, because I like metal ones. But, you know, if that would mean adding an extra 100 quid onto the table saw, you know, does it make it attractive? Probably not. I will stress that, again, this is the most expensive tool that I've bought, and I really wanted this to go well, and I believe it has. The wheel kit is something I would definitely recommend if you've got a bit of an awkward size and layout shop to what I've got. The table bed, you're always going to want it longer. That's just the reality of a table saw. But it's such a big step up from me. Again, I wanted perhaps a used saw. Perhaps I wanted something a bit more vintagey. But, you know, The worst thing about this is probably there's a few burrs. It's a bit dirty in areas. Clean it up. You know, do I really have the time and the energy to set up a 50-year-old saw and deal with all the problems? Probably not, and definitely not. I just wouldn't want to be there. So I think for the deal that I got from Scott and Sargent was very, very good. What I will mention is I'd like to give a special thanks to Ben at ITECH, at Scott and Sargent. The bloke was really good with me. I asked a few stupid questions and a few silly things. He kind of helped my journey, if you like. It's a bit corny, I know, but it was a big thing for me, and he did give me a lot of confidence and help throughout the process. He upgraded me a few little bits and bobs, and he gave me regular updates of when it's arriving, when it's coming in, and he was very straight with me. So I'd say, as somewhere to deal with, this Scott and Sargent is really, really good. I've never heard of them, to be honest, before. I kind of shopped around and watched some videos, and the record dealers, and just go onto the website and have a look. But I'm really pleased to buy a kind of semi-industrial home shop saw. I would recommend it, and of course I would like to do a 3, maybe 6 month review of it, how it's kind of holding up. But there's nothing on this saw that kind of makes me nervous about the longevity of its life. I'd say that everything is here to last, really, and that's exactly what I wanted it for. I think the quality of it is very good for what it is. Again, the reality of it's a budget saw, but for me it's such a big step up. Yes, there's a few things that you might have to shim, mess around, deburr and degrease, whatever, but I think for a turnkey package, I'd say it was really, really good. And yeah, a special thank you to Ben at Scott and Sargent. The next video is going to be the dust extraction, so I'm hoping that that's going to be a little bit straightforward. It should be quite a nice quick video. I know this has been a bit long, but again, this has been quite a big project, so it has taken me quite some time over the weekends. I've been in and out and messing around, but I'm really pleased for what it is. I'm chuffed to bits. So let's make stuff. Okay, well, we're going to call it quits. It's been a bloody long video, a lot of editing and a lot of farting around. So I do hope you enjoyed it and you got what you wanted out of it. If you'd be so kind to giving me a like, one of those, and maybe consider subscribing would be excellent. We've just hit another milestone within the channel, and it's really exciting to watch it kind of blossom and grow, and all the fantastic comments and messages that you guys send me across. The next video is going to be the dust extraction, and I bought this as a package deal from Scott and Sargent, and I just haven't got the time to actually put this in this video. It's gone on for way too long already, and I'm sorry for waffling on in certain places. But yeah, thanks again. Thanks for watching. Thanks for everybody's support. Your lovely messages that you send me, and even the stupid ones I find really funny now and again. And yeah, we'll see you in the next one. Thanks again. Stay safe, stay well, stay making things, and yeah, stay sane at the minute. I think that's the important one. Thank you.